Sizwe Bansi is Dead is a politically charged play co-written by Athol Fugard, John Kani, and Winston Ntshona, first performed in 1972. Set in apartheid-era South Africa, the play is a profound examination of identity, dignity, and survival in a society governed by racial segregation and pass laws. It is part of a trilogy of politically engaged plays written collaboratively, including The Island and Statements After an Arrest under the Immorality Act. Performed originally by Kani and Ntshona themselves, the play uses a semi-improvised, Brechtian structure and meta-theatrical techniques to expose the dehumanizing effects of apartheid. At the heart of the play lies a moral dilemma. Should a black man accept the death of his legal identity in order to survive and provide for his family? Title significance. The title Sizwe Bansi is Dead is deliberately paradoxical. While the play unfolds, the man we meet is alive, vibrant, and deeply human. But by the end, Sizwe Bansi has effectively died, in the bureaucratic sense. He has abandoned his legal identity to assume another man's name. This death of identity symbolizes the annihilation of individual rights under apartheid's oppressive laws. Context: apartheid and the pass laws. Under apartheid, black South Africans were required to carry passbooks, also called reference books, at all times. These documents strictly controlled their movement, employment, and residence. Being in a city without valid documentation could lead to arrest, deportation to rural homelands, or imprisonment. The pass laws were central to apartheid's labor and social control mechanisms. This play dramatizes the cruel absurdity of this system. People could not exist or move freely without permission. One's entire legal existence, work, identity, mobility, depended on a bureaucratic stamp. 1. Opening. Meet Styles, the photographer. The play begins with a long monologue by Styles, a gregarious photographer in New Brighton, Port Elizabeth. He recalls a visit by a Ford Motor Company executive and reflects on his decision to leave the factory and become a photographer. His studio becomes a space of self-definition, where the oppressed can assert their existence through photographs. Styles reads a newspaper article aloud about a fatal industrial accident, offering a subtle critique of corporate negligence and the expendability of black laborers. He then turns his attention to a customer, Robert Zwellinzima, later revealed to be Sizwe Bansi, too. Sizwe's story unfolds. Through an interaction with Styles and a letter dictated to Sizwe's wife, the audience learns the truth. The man before them is not Robert Zwellinzima, but Sizwe Bansi, a man whose passbook was stamped, permit refused. Without this permit, he must leave the city of Port Elizabeth and return to King William's Town, where there are no jobs. Sizwe recounts how, with the help of a friend Bunta, he came across the body of a dead man, Robert Zwellinzima, whose passbook is in perfect order. Bunta suggests Sizwe take the dead man's identity to survive in the city and find work. This moment forms the dramatic crux of the play. Sizwe must choose between staying true to his identity or assuming a false one to provide for his family. 3. The moral and existential dilemma. Sizwe agonizes over the decision. On one hand, taking Robert's identity offers a path to survival and self-worth in a system that otherwise erases him. On the other hand, it requires renouncing his name, his history, and perhaps his soul. He ultimately agrees to take the dead man's passbook, an act that enables his economic survival but symbolizes the metaphorical death of Sizwe Bansi. Characters: Sizwe Bansi, Robert Zwellinzima, a man forced to abandon his identity to survive in apartheid South Africa. Bunta, a practical and philosophical man who guides Sizwe through the process of identity change. Styles, a photographer whose studio becomes a space of empowerment and resistance. All characters, aside from Styles, are played by one or two actors, contributing to the meta-theatrical and performative nature of the work. Analysis. 1. Identity and survival. At the heart of the play is a profound exploration of identity. Sizwe's existential question is, what is a man without a name? Under apartheid, black South Africans had to constantly negotiate their legal and social identities. The passbook was not just a document, it defined their very being. Sizwe's choice illustrates the conflict between authentic selfhood and state-imposed identity. He is forced to abandon his name to access work and life in the city. His transformation into Robert Zwelinzima is an act of resistance and defeat simultaneously. He resists the system by manipulating it, but also affirms its power by erasing himself. 2. Bureaucracy as violence. The play indicts the mechanized violence of apartheid bureaucracy. A man's existence hinges on a stamp in a book. There are no trials, no appeals, just administrative exclusion. The dead Robert Zwelinzima becomes more valuable to the state than the living Sizwe Bansi. This system mirrors Franz Kafka's depiction of oppressive bureaucracy in works like The Trial, where individual identity is consumed by faceless power structures. 3. Performance and photographs. Styles' photography studio is an essential metaphor. In a society that tries to erase black existence, taking a photograph is an act of self-affirmation. People dress up, pose with pride, and document their humanity. The camera becomes a tool of dignity. Similarly, the play itself is performative. Characters role-play, switch identities, and perform themselves for survival. The theater space, like Styles' studio, becomes a place of truth through constructed illusion. 4. Humor and humanity. Despite its grim themes, the play is rich in humor. The actors use mimicry, improvisation, satire, and wit. This humor is not escapism, it is a form of resilience. It humanizes the characters and reveals the absurdity of the apartheid system. The audience laughs not because the situation is funny, but because it is terrifyingly real. The play's tone is warm and dynamic, fluctuating between comedy, tragedy, and reflection. It engages the audience emotionally and intellectually. 5. Metatheatre and Brechtian influence. Sizwe Bansi is Dead employs metatheatre, where the audience is made aware they are watching a performance. Characters break the fourth wall, step in and out of roles, and shift identities. This aligns with Bertolt Brecht's theory of epic theatre, which aims to provoke critical reflection rather than passive consumption. The purpose is to disrupt illusion and make the audience confront social reality. It blurs the line between actor and character, performance and reality, mirroring how apartheid blurs personhood and legality. 6. Collaboration and collective creation. The play was developed through collaborative improvisation between Athol Fugard, a white playwright, and black actors John Kani and Winston Ntshona. This process was radical in apartheid South Africa, where interracial collaboration was not just discouraged, it was dangerous. The play's co-creation is itself a political act. It defies apartheid's attempt to divide people racially. It also ensures that the voices of the oppressed are not just spoken about, but through. Relevance and legacy. Sizwe Bansi is Dead has become one of the most iconic anti-apartheid plays in the canon of world theater. Its themes of identity, systemic oppression, and survival resonate far beyond South Africa. It speaks to migrant laborers, refugees, stateless people, and anyone forced to barter their identity for survival. In today's global landscape of displacement and institutional cruelty, the play remains startlingly relevant. The play also continues to influence post-colonial theater, documentary performance, and politically engaged drama. Conclusion. Sizwe Bansi is Dead is a searing examination of the impact of systemic injustice on the human spirit. Through the personal crisis of Sizwe, the play interrogates the social, legal, and existential violence of apartheid. It challenges audiences to consider: what is identity under oppression? What is survival without dignity? With humor, grace, and unflinching honesty, Fugard, Kani, and Ntshona deliver a theatrical masterpiece that transcends time and place. Sizwe may be dead in the eyes of the state, but in the hearts of those who witness his story, he lives, reborn as a symbol of resistance, survival, and the enduring power of the human spirit.